The Thames that morning was swollen with tide and anticipation. Damp fog rolled across the river as thousands crowded the banks. From taverns to alleyways, all London whispered of what was to come. William Kidd, once the Crown's own man, now marked for death, awaited the gallows. But this was not to be a clean hanging. His execution promised something darker, a ritual of humiliation meant to linger for years. A pirate's body was not simply killed, it was transformed into a warning, chained and left to rot above the river. Kidd would be devoured twice, by rope and by time. Kidd's story began not in chains but in promise. Born in Scotland, he carved his name on the seas as a privateer. England's rulers armed him, ordered him to strike French ships. He carried not a skull and crossbones but the license of Crown and Parliament. He was no outlaw at first. The seas of empire were treacherous. Fortune, loyalty and betrayal changed with each tide. Kidd's capture of the Quetta merchant brought immense prize, yet the wrong flag flew over its stern. Merchants raged. Officials trembled. The line between privateer and pirate snapped, and Kidd was cast as villain. By 1701, England needed blood. Trade was lifeblood. Piracy was plague. Kidd's fall became theatre for the Crown, a chance to reassure merchants their fortunes were safe. His trial was a spectacle, his guilt more useful than truth. Witnesses were bribed, evidence twisted. He never stood a chance. The court condemned him swiftly. Not only would he hang until dead, but his body would not rest in sacred earth. He was to be gibbeted in chains above the Thames, left to decay where tide and bird alike could feast. It was justice, sharpened into terror. On May 23rd, the city surged toward Execution Dock at Wapping. From dockworkers to noblemen, from women clutching infants to sailors on leave, all came to see the pirate die. To them, this was both punishment and carnival. The air buzzed with curses, gossip, and the smell of ale. Kidd marched in chains. His face was pale, his step faltering. Behind him, guards clutched pikes. He had once commanded ships across oceans, but here he was reduced to a spectacle. A broken man shuffling toward his doom. Some spat, others jeered, but all watched. None looked away. The gallows loomed over the river, wood weathered and dark. Above it dangled the rope, rough and waiting. Kidd paused beneath it, head tilted back, eyes reflecting the hangman's knot. He knew this place. Countless pirates had met their end here. Now he would join them, body and soul. The hangman readied him. The noose slipped over his neck, coarse hemp-biting skin. Kidd murmured words no one caught. Perhaps prayer, perhaps curse. The crowd hushed, breaths held, and then the trapdoor slammed open. Kidd dropped, only for the rope to snap with a sickening crack. The crowd erupted. Some gasped in horror, others shrieked with laughter. Kidd writhed on the ground, ribs heaving, limbs twitching. For a heartbeat, it seemed fate had intervened, granting him life. But no mercy came. Guards hauled him upright, bruised and broken, to face the gallows once more. Another rope was fetched, thicker, harsher. The hangman looped it tight, pulling until Kidd's throat reddened. The trapdoor fell again. His body dropped hard, legs flailing, boots thrashing air. His eyes bulged, tongue thrust from his lips. The rope held. Death crept slowly, minute by agonizing minute. The crowd drank in his torment. Some whispered he kicked for 5 long minutes, each second a grotesque ballet of suffocation. His hands clawed at nothing, chest convulsed, until at last he sagged limp, purpled face staring into void. Silence spread like a shroud. William Kidd was gone. But death was only the beginning. His corpse was seized by jailers, bound in iron and carried to a waiting gibbet. They forced his arms wide, clamped his skull within bars, and raised him above the Thames. Chains groaned as they suspended him, a blackened trophy against the sky. Days passed, then weeks. His skin shriveled under sun, split open in rain. Gulls pecked his eyes, crows tore his flesh. Each tide washed rot across the dockside. The people of London passed beneath, forced to witness his slow dismemberment by nature itself. His corpse became part of the city. Years later, bones still clattered in storms. Sailors cursed when they passed his shadow, whispering that Kidd's ghost followed ships that lingered too close. Mothers pointed to the swaying skeleton as warning to children. Piracy did not bring glory, only chains, filth, and endless disgrace. Yet legend grew despite the Crown's cruelty. Kidd's name lived in whispers of buried treasure, secret maps, and hidden gold. Songs spoke of him not as monster, but as victim, betrayed by politics, devoured by empire. His chains could not bind the myth. Kidd had become immortal in another way. The government sought deterrence, but instead they crafted a martyr of fear. His suffering inspired dread, yes, but also fascination. Pirates still sailed. Treasure still tempted. And Kidd's gibbet, creaking above the Thames, reminded all that the crown feared not piracy alone, but the freedom it represented. Kidd's End Forces reflection. Was he a villain who deserved torment? Or was he a scapegoat sacrificed to feed the Empire's hunger for order? His bones preached a lesson of cruelty, his chains a sermon of power's grip. And yet his legend whispered that death cannot silence a story. Would you have dared to sail with him, chasing fortune at the edge of law? Or would you stand among the crowd, cheering as he kicked his last breath? The river remembers. The chains remember. And perhaps, even now, Kidd's ghost lingers. Watching ships slip past his watery grave. Thank you for staying with this tale of terror and infamy. Share your thoughts. Was Kidd pirate, victim, or both? And join me next time when we descend into a punishment far worse, where death came not with a rope but with a blade, and a man's entrails were dragged into the open air.